Bom, pessoal, vou abrir agora o encontro de hoje, né? Oficialmente começando as agendas internacionais nessa nova etapa do Go Global, né? A gente teve semana passada um encontro, então, com o Fausto da Pipe Run e o Rafael da Rocket Chat, então, para abrir com a chave de ouro essa etapa, bastante troca de experiências. Então, agora a gente vai cada vez mais seguindo nessa questão de tração, nessa questão de começar, então, tirar esse negócio realmente do papel e começar a fazer as primeiras vendas e tudo mais. Então, hoje a gente abre com uma da agenda da Estônia. A gente tem aqui, você está acostumado com o Rafael, então hoje nós temos a figura aqui do Pedro também, que é colega dele. Ele vai fazendo, enfim, estão acostumados já com funciona com a questão da Estônia, né? Então, pode abrir o chat, mandar pergunta em português, ou se quiser arriscar no inglês também é super tranquilo. Vou passar aqui o mic já para o Pedro, para ele apresentar um pouquinho a speaker e como que vai funcionar um pouquinho hoje.
Bom dia a todos, obrigado pela participação. Hoje quem vai estar conversando com a gente vai ser a Ülane, do E-Residency. E, bom, a agenda de hoje não tem tradução e, como o Guilherme disse, qualquer pergunta, se quiser mandar em português também, a gente pode estar auxiliando na tradução. E se quiser mandar em inglês também, fiquem à vontade. Ülane, now the show is yours. You can go, you can share your screen, and I give you the word to make our show.
Thank you very much for having me. I will share my screen with you. All right, so this should work now. Is it working? Yeah.
Yes, it's working.
Yes, it is.
We have a quite a cozy and small group here today, so I will be happy if you stop me at some point and ask me questions. It's no problem at all. But I will tell you today about what use could Brazilian startups find in using e-residency of Estonia as a framework or a platform to go global. I will explain you the process of becoming an e-resident and also the process of company creation in Estonia. The last two parts are going to be a little bit more into detail. So if some of this seems more interesting or less interesting, then you're welcome to jump in and ask or specify. It's totally fine. We can take it however you would like to go, because we don't have to please a large audience today. Yeah. So my name is Ülane and I'm the head of business development here at the Estonian e-residency team. Personally, I am actually also a previous startup founder. For the last 10 years, I ran my own company, one traditional company in the tourism sector, and also what we call a startup. So I built a travel platform, which was very much used here in the Central and Eastern Europe. We reached about 500,000 monthly users. So it was something that I feel that gave me a very good understanding of what startup founders are going through and what their challenges are. So a little bit about Estonia as a start. I assume since you're all here, you at least know where Estonia is on the map. But Estonia is a tiny country. So I always joke that if you want to get to Estonia, then you have to come to Finland and turn right, because it's sometimes more famous for its neighbors like Finland and Russia and Sweden rather than for itself. We are located in Northern Europe. What we are known for in the world is having one of the most digitally advanced societies, and it means that the society is digitally advanced not only in the private sector level but also on the public sector level. What this means is that 99% of the services that Estonians have to use in connection to their state, they can do online, and this reaches from everyday spheres to business spheres, and it's all encompassing range of different things that we can do online. We like to joke that there are only two things at the moment that in connection to your government you cannot do online. What can anybody propose or guess what are the two only things Estonians still have to show up in person for? Any guesses from anyone? If not, then I'll tell you. They are getting married and getting divorced. But everything else in the process of being a citizen of Estonia can be actually managed online. So when, for example, when you have a child, you can register your child's birth online. You can name your child online. You can apply for all the benefits online. Then when you choose your child a school, you do that all online. You watch what they're doing online. So everything is basically working online. And as an extension of this very digital society, we introduced this e-residency program in 2014. So 6 years ago, we decided to open these public services up to the rest of the world and give non-residents access to them. So the main goal of the e-residency program for Estonia is attracting foreign investment and business opportunities to Estonia, because compared to Brazil, you understand that it's very hard to stand out with such a small country in the world. So this is something that is making our country a little bit more strong in the economic sense, and also raising awareness about who we are, what we are, and what we do well. So this e-residency program has attracted a lot of people's attention to this Estonia's digital advancement. But we are also a very strong startup nation. There are over 1,000 startups in Startup Estonia database. And even though I know that I think there are about 13,000 startups in Brazil, then you have to understand that the population is 160 times smaller. So in that sense, it's quite a good achievement to have 1,000 startups. Estonia has also a startup visa program to bring non-resident founders to Estonia to build their business here. Also, it's easier to hire employees with the help of the startup visa from all around the world. Personally, I have used this to bring in some developers from the United States and also Turkey. So I can attest to how easy the process is made. There are more than 100 startup support organizations that are all very closely connected, and there is even a government institution called Startup Estonia that is overseeing the ecosystem development. Then we have one of the highest unicorn per capita ratio. So as I said, we have only about 1,300,000 people in the country, but we are home to 7 unicorns. So 7 startup companies that are valued at more than 1 billion euros. And we have a really good legislation for investment and stock options. So that's something that is also very attractive to startup founders. Here you can see the Estonian startup unicorns. Some of them are more well-known, some of them are less well-known. Playtech is probably one of the oldest, but also least known. But Skype is something that everybody around the world is using, and also one of the one of the companies that showed the way to technology sector here in Estonia, that made a lot of startup founders believe that it's possible to build groundbreaking and world-changing services here in this small country. And then TransferWise, now Wise, money-changing platform, foreign currency changing platform. Then I don't know if Bolt is also present in Brazil or not, but Bolt is Uber competitor. So they do ride sharing. They nowadays also do scooters. They do food delivery, and they are actually looking into some new business fields just as we speak, including even financial services. Then Pipedrive is a sales software, which surprisingly found one of their biggest and most successful markets to be Brazil. I don't know if you anybody knew this from this group or not, but Pipedrive's success was largely based on the customers that they acquired in Brazil. And then the last two, Zego and ID, are actually located elsewhere, but they have Estonian founders. So we as a small country, we like to still say that they are Estonian startups. Estonia is a great place to start a company, and the reasons why is that it's a trusted and transparent business environment. We have historically always considered ourselves to be more similar to Finland and Sweden rather than the immediate neighbors of ours. So this kind of transparent business environment, it means low corruption. People generally trust the state, trust the rule of law. So everything is quite functioning and quite transparent here in this country. You cannot bribe anyone in the government sector. It's quite frowned upon even to think that you can. We have very liberal economy, advanced digital services. The ease of doing business is not just a expression, but it's actually an international index that is calculated by PricewaterhouseCoopers. You can look it up, and it ranks countries in the world based on different criteria and how easy it is to do business there. So we are always scoring quite high in this ease of doing business. And main reasons are because our bureaucracy level is very low. As an example, I can tell you that declaring and paying taxes as a company, for example, is something that takes very little time and effort in Estonia. Estonian small company spends about 50 hours per year to declare and pay taxes, where some of the Western European more well-known countries, the same number is over 200 hours per year, and in some even more than 300 hours per year. We have a very simple tax environment, so there are not many exceptions and different tax rates. It's all quite transparent and very even for each type of company, each type of business. We have highly educated human capital. A liberal labor market, what it means is that it's easy to hire people, and it's also quite easy to adapt your workforce. So there are not very big restrictions on this. English is spoken widely. And Estonia is an active member of many international organizations, so EU, NATO, OECD, you name it. And all of this business environment is made accessible for non-residents through this E-Residency status. One of the things that I also wanted to share with you today is this graph with the investments into Estonian startups. So as you can see, the amounts and the deals that are made in this small country are actually quite serious. So this is something that also makes Estonia, a trusted country that investors from all around the world, and trust me, these are not Estonian investors who are making those large deals. So investors from all around Europe and the world are actually trusting Estonian business environment enough to invest money into Estonian startups. To reflect back on what I learned or what I feel from my own startup experience is that I think that when you are starting something yourself, then what you're thinking about is that how do I build a world-changing product or a service, or how do I do something that actually makes somebody's life different, work out the business model that is revolutionizing a certain sector. You are also thinking about how to present your idea the best, how to get traction, how to get new customers, how to pitch your idea to investors so that they would actually believe in this and its growth potential and invest money in your idea. And then once you are successful with that, you're thinking about building a really good workplace that is contemporary and innovative and where people feel really determined to achieve the startup's goals. What you are not thinking about, or what you don't want to think about, is how running a business is also bureaucracy, or how you have to really keep an eye on so many different aspects of different legislation and rules that you have to follow. So startup founders very often, everywhere in the world, they very often start something without actually figuring out all the details about it, so legislation actually sometimes has to change because of startups. So startup founders, they don't want to spend a lot of time on administrating their company or figuring out the legal aspects. So because of that, I personally believe that Estonia's business environment, because it is so simple and so straightforward, is one of the best ways to actually be global from day one. Because we are a small country, it's also part of our mindset that we hardly ever think about building a product or a service just for our own internal market. I know it's very different in big countries like, for instance, Brazil, because your internal market is actually a market. Ours is not. Ours is a test group. We can do our beta testing within Estonia, but we have to right away, to become even remotely successful, we have to look outside to foreign markets right away. And I don't mean Latvia, which is another 1-point-something million people. So we are used to looking right away at this global business environment and thinking about how to build a business that is truly international. So what is E-Residency and how it can help you? E-Residency is our cross-governmental program. It includes a lot of different institutions in Estonian government that contribute to making this happen. But what it essentially is, it's a separate legal status for non-residents. So you'd have citizens of Estonia and you'd have residents of Estonia, but then you'd have E-residents of Estonia, and E-residents are a totally different legal status. E-Residency gives you a digital identity, which in turn is basically like a login. It's your login credentials to Estonian e-services. It's a mean of identifying you online and doing it securely. And it is actually also access to this global community of e-residents who currently come from 170 countries and more. So it's basically your login. Can show you how the e-residency card looks like. It's a smart card with a chip, and you use it to log in to anything that has to do with Estonian e-services. Sometimes the word e-residency is confusing, so I also have to say what e-residency is not. E-residency is not a travel document. So as you saw, this document doesn't have a photo on it. All Estonians have exactly the same card, except for there's a photo here, and you use it also to travel inside the European Union. We call it ID card. So this doesn't give you the same capability. It doesn't give you citizenship of Estonia. You would still have, if you would like to become a citizen of Estonia, you would still have to go this exact same route as everybody else to become a citizen of Estonia. It doesn't give you a visa to travel to the European Union or residency permit to live here temporarily. And it also doesn't automatically give you tax residency of Estonia, which is a more complicated topic, which I will cover in the end. So e-residency essentially is just your digital identity. And here on this picture, you can see how you use a card reader to log into your, any kind of service online and basically sign documents and do everything with this card. So why would anybody become an e-resident of this country that nobody has even heard about in the world and is so far away from Brazil? Actually, when I was traveling in Brazil some 12 or 13 years ago, I discovered that there is a small village or small town in Brazil that has a lot of Finnish heritage people. So we, actually Estonia is not so far from Finland, and there are some Finnish people in Brazil. So the world is more connected than we imagine. But why would you become an e-resident of Estonia? Is mainly to register an EU-based company online and manage it completely remotely. And what this means is that you never have to set foot in Estonia to own an Estonian company. And to own an Estonian company means to own an EU-based company. European Union is one single market, and all the member states, they comply to certain regulations and rules. And the trust is within this whole political it's settled between all the countries, basically. You can securely access a wide range of Estonian public and private e-services through this, including, for example, banks. Then you can digitally sign contracts and other documents. You can encrypt and send them securely. Encrypting documents means that only a recipient can, for example, open this document and read it. You can take advantage of this very entrepreneurial and startup-minded ecosystem that we have here in this country. And enough people have found this to be a quite attractive value proposal. So we have at the moment 82,000 e-residents from around the world. And not all of them actually register companies in Estonia. Some of them are also just fans of the idea that you could be a digital resident of a country. So E-Residency in total have founded 17,000 companies in Estonia. And E-residents come from more than 170 countries, like I said in the beginning. So it's open to all nationalities, and the numbers that we have very, very varied, you know, set of people is the proof of that. How to become a E-resident of Estonia? First of all, E-residency is not given to companies, so it's given to private individuals. So the founders of a company are the ones who become E-residents. Company is not an E-resident, the owners of it, the founders of it, that become E-residents. So each person is identified basically with this government-issued document. You have to explain why you're interested in becoming an E-resident. So using, for example, Estonian e-services like the company creation is one reason. Applicants can actually not be Estonian citizens. So like I said, it's a separate legal status, and residents of Estonia or citizens of Estonia cannot be E-residents at the same time. It's open to everybody, and this is the process of how to apply. First of all, you get together your document, your passport, a photo of you, which is taken on a light background, your credit card, and then you go to e-resident.gov.ee, which is our website, and find the application form from there. The application form actually takes you to our police and border guard page. So don't be scared. This is how it's supposed to be. The police and border guard is the issuing institution. So they are the ones who are actually issuing those documents. So you fill out the application, you pick a pickup location, which in your case at the moment is in São Paulo. There used to be the closest place to you in New York. So Brazilians would have to travel to New York, or if they happen to be in Europe, then they could also order their e-residency cards to one of our embassies in Spain or Portugal or some other places here in Europe. Then you pay a state fee and submit your application. And then the police and border guard will have 30 days to look through your application, but usually it takes a lot less. If they don't have any additional questions, which they sometimes do, and that's also something quite normal, if to some questions you have answered like very shortly, or if there hasn't been like enough information, then sometimes they email you to ask more. It's nothing to be scared of. But in Estonia, what I have to say is everything takes usually less than we are promised. So, for example, when I have ordered a new passport, they also promise me that it takes 30 days to get a new passport. But usually I get an SMS third or fourth day that my passport is ready. So most public services in Estonia take less than promised. 30 days is just the maximum that they always set as a date that to give themselves a leeway. So this is how the timeline of getting e-residency looks like. The state fee is 100 euros plus a small service fee that our pickup locations in various places charge. Then the Estonian Police and Border Guard will have 30 days, and then they will send the same kit, which includes a card and its reader, to this pickup location where you chose to receive your e-residency card. And then when it reaches your pickup location, you will have 6 months to pick it up. During this pandemic, our pickup locations and embassies have been actually quite cooperative to even extend those periods. So it hasn't been always so strict that 6 months and it's done and it's destroyed. So you have 6 months to pick it up, and you have to personally pick it up. The reason for that is that because it is a government issued document and legal status, then your fingerprints are also taken upon this process. So what does it cost to become an e-resident? The state fee of becoming one is, like I said, 100 euros, but there is a small surcharge from the pickup locations, which in some cases are our embassies. Unfortunately, we don't have an embassy in Brazil. So we use an external partner in Sao Paulo, and this external partner is a partner of our police and border guard, and they have a small service fee that they charge. There are no annual fees, but it expires in 5 years. So in 5 years, you can actually renew it. But to renew it, the same kind of process has to be done. The background check that police and border guard does on every applicant is done again, because things might have changed. Somebody might have gotten criminal record or something, and so the situation might actually be different. So every 5 years you have to renew this, and you can also replace a broken or lost card. But here in the e-residency team, everybody that I know, we recommend using also Smart ID, which is an app-based way of authenticating yourself. It's a little bit similar to, for example, Google or Microsoft Authenticator app. So what you do is that once you have this e-residency card, then you also go and activate Smart ID, which is connected to your device, to your smartphone usually. And once you have a Smart ID that is valid at the time of the expiry of your e-resident document, then you can actually keep using e-services until your Smart ID expires as well. So you don't actually have to renew the physical card right away as it expires, because your e-residency status does not expire. It's only the card that expires. And in case you lose your PIN numbers, then you can also order new ones. Important things to know about the pickup locations is that we do have now already actually 50 plus locations around the world, because we just added several more. Depending on where you are in the world, if we have somebody that is outside of Brazil listening from here, then you might need to travel abroad to get your card. And then traveling to get your e-residency card is up to a person's own responsibility. So you still have to, if you need to go to another country, you still have to get a visa to actually pick it up in that country. And you may change your pickup location. For example, if you already have applied, you have decided to get it in Madrid, and then surprise, surprise, we open a pickup location in Sao Paulo, then you are able to change this pickup location for a small fee. While collecting the e-residency kit, then you have to schedule an appointment and go there in person, because like I said, you actually give fingerprints, and you are personally identified with a picture document on the spot by our pickup locations representative. So it's not possible to receive the e-residency card by mail, unfortunately. And once you have it, then basically you have access to all these things that I talked about. And just to maybe step back a little bit and think about startups, there are many advantages that different sector companies and different business models can take advantage of in Estonia. But if I think about tech startups, then 4 main reasons why I think Estonia is a good place where to actually then establish your company is these 4 reasons. One is that your company, this EU-based entity that is Estonian OÜ, that we call it, is enough trusted by European and global investors. And as a proof of this is Bolt. Bolt actually never registered a company, for example, in Delaware, like a lot of startups do when they have to start looking for venture capital. So they actually kept doing the whole Bolt business through Estonian entity, and until the very last investment rounds now that already exceed millions of euros, and their evaluation is over 1 billion, it's still the same Estonian entity, and it's still trusted. The Estonian legislation is trusted because it's so transparent. The second reason is that it actually is, if I think about raising investments, I had to raise 500,000 euros total in 2 rounds to my own startup. And obviously in the first rounds, we had quite small contributions from angel investors. So in the first seed level rounds, startups might have many investors that they need to get behind the same table to the notary at the same time to actually make a deal. So 1.5 years ago, our legislation passed this change that it's possible to make transactions with shares of company remotely as well on certain conditions. So, for example, if the minimum share capital for founding a company can be 0 upon starting, so you can actually found it, you can start your business activities without putting down any share capital. But then the minimum level once you do is 2,500 euros. Now, what this means is the liability of the shareholders. So shareholders put down 2,500 euros and they say that, okay, for the liabilities of my company, this is the maximum amount that we are responsible for. If you are willing to secure your company a little bit higher level of trust, so by putting in 10,000 euros as share capital of your company, that also increases the trust for the company. But what it also does is that it takes you over this threshold. Over 10,000 euros of share capital is actually possible to make share purchases only based on purchase agreements. So it's not necessary to get all the investors into the notary at the same time, get them into one place, into one room. You might have, I don't know, like 20 different small investors who are all investing 20 to 50,000. You don't have to do that in Estonia if the share capital exceeds 10,000 euros. And this is something that actually makes investing a lot easier and hassle-free for including international group of people. Third reason is that we have very advantageous employee stock option regulation. And what this means is that when you are building a startup, you want to somehow motivate your key employees, not only by paying them a salary, because unfortunately the salary that you can pay in the very beginning is either close to 0 or something below market average. So you want to invest in your people. You want to give them the opportunity to be part of the company's growth. And for that, a lot of startups give their employees options to buy at a certain point in time after they have worked for a certain time, also shares in the company. And in Estonia, those options for shares are taxed only at the time when this share is sold. So in some countries, this legislation is totally different. Once you receive the opportunity to buy shares, this is considered already something that is subject to tax, because you are given something, so you're supposed to pay tax from it. But in Estonia, the legislation is made very startup friendly and very employee friendly, so the options are taxed only once shares are actually sold. And the fourth reason is a very supportive startup ecosystem. So like I said, we have over 100 different organizations, and these organizations are so closely knit in Estonia that it is possible to get in touch with almost everybody, because it is such a small community, such a connected community. So once you are here, then taking advantage of everybody who can support you in any way, mentors or investment organizations, Unite Angel Investors, or any kind of training and seminars and events and accelerators and prototyping workshops and the funds and whatever. It's all very closely connected and very much for helping the companies develop. So these are 4 reasons why you should consider registering a company in such a faraway place as Estonia is. And like I said, it is never necessary to actually be physically present in Estonia to take advantage of all this and use an Estonian company for your business. So this is the process of registering a company in a nutshell. When you get your E-Residency digital ID, then it takes about 24 hours to become activated. And then what you do is that you have to choose yourself a business service provider. I will explain what this means. Once this step is completed, then you can log into the company registration portal or the e-business registry and register your company. You can do it yourself, or you can use one of those service providers. Then if your company is in a field that requires any kind of other license, then you also can apply for the license online in the Register of Economic Activities. And then you choose for yourself a business banking partner and open an account. So this is in a nutshell the process of registering a company. Let's go into more detail with some of the things that you have to know about when registering a company. Why do I need this service provider? What this means is that service providers can help you with a lot of things in Estonia. Obviously, still you are in Brazil and you are probably running your company from there, but because it's registered in Estonia, then there's a lot of different aspects that these service providers can help you with. You don't have to buy all of these services from them, but there is only one that is actually compulsory, and it's the first one. They can help you with all these other things as well. They can help you with legal advice, they can help you with tax consultation, they can help you with hiring people here in Estonia if you want to, if you need to. Or they can do also your accounting. But the one compulsory service, this mandatory thing that each company owned by non-residents needs to have is a contact person and a legal address in Estonia. This is quite common practice. It's in a lot of countries, but a lot of countries in the world require a lot more. They also sometimes require a local nominee, a local shareholder, a local director, corporate secretary, and all kinds of other things to own a company as a non-resident. Estonia only requires one mandatory thing, and that's if the management board of the company is located elsewhere in a foreign country, then the government wants to have somebody here in Estonia that they can actually get in touch with. And who these are licensed accounting companies. So when we say choose yourself a business service provider, these are all licensed accounting companies that you should choose from, because offering this legal address service and contact person service is only possible if they have this certain license. This basically becomes the legal address of your company. So if the government, wants to send anything to you, which they normally on paper never do, then they at least have one address on file that is here in Estonia. And contact person is not the same as local director, so it doesn't come with any other legal obligations, only this obligation to forward you any correspondence, basically, from this address. This is our website where we have actually built this whole big section called the marketplace. And the marketplace is where you can choose one of those business service providers, but not only. You can also find help with tax consulting. Somebody sneezed. You can also choose different banking service providers, fintechs to work with, and some other additional services that may be useful for certain business owners. For example, Safety Wings is for freelancers, providing them with insurance. So different things that we have felt that are useful for our e-resident company owners. And what the difference between those companies that are on our marketplace on our website and those that are not is that as a government institution, e-residency team has actually done a background check on those companies. So those companies have they don't have anything, they don't have any skeletons in their closet, let's say. So we have done a background check on those companies, and when we have put our stamp on them that they are trusted and they can be worked with, and that's a big thing. So we always recommend to choose a business service provider from one of those that are on our marketplace. It does not mean that you can only use this. There are endless opportunities to also choose from somebody that is not here. But we always recommend just to be on the safe side. So at minimum, they will provide you with a contact person and legal address, but they can also do your accounting, whether you decide to do it on monthly or yearly basis. They have different plans depending on the size of the company, but they can also do the company registration process for you. So this is the e-business registry, and most Estonians, they just use it. They log in. It's simple enough not to need a lawyer, not to need a service provider to actually do it. But it is a different language. It is in English. You are far away, so if you feel more safe, if you feel that it would be nice to have a service provider do it for you, then of course it's something that they are used to doing and know all the details and aspects of it. After you have submitted your application for registering a company, it takes about up to 1 to 3 business days for the company to actually be live. Most likely it will already be live on the next business day, but again, we like to be on the safe side, so up to 3 business days is when the company is actually live. What kind of company type to choose? There are different types of legal entities in Estonia, and the one that we always recommend to e-residents is private limited company. Private limited company means that the liability for the company is limited. So it's a very advantageous way of doing business. There is also a way of being a sole proprietor, where the liability for your company's obligations is actually unlimited, and you might need to be personally responsible for if your company owes somebody money. So we don't recommend becoming the sole proprietor to e-residents. Private limited companies, or OÜs, I bet nobody can even say it from you, are the most popular type of company in Estonia. It can be one shareholder company, it can be multiple shareholder company. The share capital requirement compared to, for example, AS, which is a public limited company, is lower. For AS, it's 25,000 euros as the minimum share capital requirement, but 2,500 euros is actually deferrable. So what it means is that you can start your business operations by paying in also 0. It means that it can be postponed. So upon a registration, you can say that I will pay this share capital in later, and you say it in your articles of association when, by what date, what term you plan to pay it in. So it's deferrable. You can postpone it. The only thing you cannot do if you don't have a share capital down payment done is to pay out profit as dividends. So how we look at this opportunity to postpone this share capital down payment is to start business activities, and until you actually have some serious business going on, you don't have to put down this 2,500 euros. But if your business really takes off and you're actually thinking of already taking dividends, then that's the moment when you want to make sure that this 2,500 euros is really paid in, because then it's something that stops you from paying yourself dividends. And the registration process is super hassle-free and very easy. Through the business registry, it takes about 15 to 20 minutes to fill out the application and register your company. So 15 minutes and you're done. Registering multi-shareholder companies, you can do it online, but all the shareholders and board members who are chosen must also have either the Estonian digital identity card as e-residents or residents or even citizens, or they could also have Estonian or Lithuanian mobile ID, Latvian, Belgian, or Finnish ID cards. So as you can see, these are countries that are like quite close to us. So Estonian Business Registry actually accepts some other ways of authentication from people. So, but they're all quite close to us. So, just in case, I'm saying it, but it's quite unlikely that one of the Brazilian founders would have a Finnish or a Belgian ID card. It's also possible to establish a subsidiary of your Brazilian company in Estonia. So it might be an option, or it might be the best solution in certain cases. I don't know your specific case, but I'm just throwing it out here. So establishing a subsidiary, or what we call a daughter company, is a separate legal entity. and it has legal, then your company, your Brazilian company, has legal presence in EU. And the share capital contribution in this case cannot be deferred, so it has to be right away paid in, this 2,500 euros. And there's another way of opening also a branch office, which itself is not a separate legal entity. There is no share capital contribution, and it's suitable in the case where you're actually doing business inside Estonia. So that you need to have some kind of a, let's say you're producing something and you really like are selling something physically in Estonia. You see Estonia as one of your target markets. In that case, it might make sense to actually have a branch office. But something to keep in mind is that establishing a subsidiary cannot be done online. So you still have to actually go to the notary here in Estonia, unfortunately. But afterwards, having an e-residency card, still you can manage all the operations online. So even if for the incorporation of a subsidiary, you still would have to do it in notary, then afterwards, all the other communication with the state can be done online. How much does company incorporation cost in Estonia? There is a state fee of 190 euros. At the moment, we have several of our business service providers running campaigns for this summer that are actually promising to take care of this state fee for you if you become their accounting customer. So one of them is called Xolo. Xolo is a suitable accounting software, SaaS-based software that is only meant for solo entrepreneurs who are doing freelancing. So not so much with several founders of startups. They actually don't allow multiple shareholders at all through their platform. So if, for example, somebody here listening is more like a freelancer offering their services around the world, then Xolo at the moment has this offer that they pay for your company registration once you are an e-resident. And another one that is a Spanish-owned company, Tu Empresa in Estonia, is also running a same kind of campaign at the moment. Contact person and legal address services cost about 150 to 400 euros a year. There are even some cheaper ones, but most of them are somewhere around 200 euros per year. So this is that one mandatory service that I was talking about. Depending on your accounting needs, accounting fees really depend on how much business do you have. So accounting is usually calculated based on the number of transactions going through. If you have a very small business with very few transactions, it might not even make sense to have an accountant on monthly basis. But if your revenue, for example, doesn't even exceed the 40,000 euros, that is the level for VAT, then you can do your accounting yearly. You can just pay an accounting company to do your yearly report once a year. And other services, business licenses, some things might have extra state fees, but you know, that really depends on a field. Then you have to choose one main area of activity. A company can operate in many different fields, so it's something that you let the business register know that is your main activity. It doesn't have to stay your main activity for the rest of the life, but you have to choose one. Later, it is actually considered what is written in your yearly report for where your revenue comes from, and this main field of the business might be changed accordingly. So if let's say upon registration you register a software company, then decide that the software is not going to fly, the customers actually don't have this pain point that you assume they have, then you can actually use the same company to do other business, and based on where your revenue comes from, what customers pay you for, you change the main business activity. Certain fields have licenses, like I said, in tourism, some fields, financial services, especially cryptocurrencies, educational activities, construction, gambling, and things like that. They all have special licensing that you need to have. But considering the profiles of our regular e-residence businesses, then none of these, except for cryptocurrencies, are usually the fields that the e-residents are in. And then the next step would be opening a business bank account. Very important thing is to understand that becoming an e-resident doesn't automatically mean that private institutions who are banks have to open you a bank account. Banks, unfortunately, still do their due diligence on their customers, and they have their KYC processes where they check their customers. However, the options that you have as an Estonian company are such. You can use payment institutions and fintechs in the European Union and European Economic Area. They can be opened entirely online. So we always recommend, especially for startups, we always recommend to use fintechs rather than look for a real bank account, because you don't have to show up in Estonia. You can open them online. There's a very wide choice. We work with TransferWise, for example, very closely. So TransferWise would look at your Estonian company as an Estonian customer, and they know about the e-residency program very well. So it's in that way, it's a very good partner to have. And the only thing with fintechs is that if you are really looking to use bank loans for developing your business, then of course fintechs do not open or do not offer any credit. Then banks in Estonia, even though we are a very digital country, banks in Estonia still would like you to show up in person, or alternatively, there is an opportunity to have yourself verified through a notary in your own country. And this notary proof has to be sent to the Estonian notary and then to the bank. And so there is a way to open it from distance. But banks in Estonia need to see a strong connection to Estonia. So having an actual office here, hiring people, having some serious business partners here, these are the things that help with getting a real bank account. So, and they also require you to personally show up. Banks in other European Union and European Economic Area countries are also okay to run a business through e-residency. It's something that is not so well known, but it's actually possible to own a company in some other European Union country and manage it so that you may, let's say you have a bank account in Lithuania and an Estonian company. It's totally possible. And where will I pay my taxes? Like I said in the beginning, that the e-residency doesn't give you automatically tax residency. Hold on, I have to put a charger behind my computer, or it will die. Just having an Estonian company doesn't automatically give you tax residency in Estonia, but Estonia looks at your Estonian company as a tax resident of Estonia. So Estonian companies are right away, like they get a tax residency of Estonia, but then your activities where you actually run your business from might create permanent establishment, which is a term used internationally elsewhere. So what this means is that if you are in Brazil, running your business in Brazil, then Brazil might take a look at you owning a company in Estonia and say, this is my citizen. My citizen owns a company elsewhere. I would like to get part of this profit taxed in my country as well. So it's an aspect that you have to always keep in mind, and maybe consult with somebody who knows the local tax system in Brazil. Unfortunately, Estonia does not have a dual tax avoidance treaty with Brazil. So you have to actually look into your specific business model. But what helps is having actual business activities in Estonia. So having somebody employed in Estonia, having a small office in Estonia that maybe does something for your company, like for example, a certain function is moved here. All these things help to actually show that this is an Estonian company and the business is done from Estonia. So these are some of the things that might help. And to get more specific information, we recommend you to consult with somebody who is a professional. But Estonia's tax system itself is very advantageous for business owners, especially for growing businesses. It is very low risk and cost effective. Estonian companies do not pay any tax on profit unless that profit is distributed as dividends. So let's say I have a company that makes 10,000 euros of profit every year after my expenses. Then if I decide to keep this 10,000 euros in the company, reinvest it into next business activities, then I don't pay any profit tax. This is how it's been for the last 30 years. It doesn't mean that 100% it will stay that way, but at least that at the moment, Estonian companies can enjoy tax benefits until they grow. So until you keep growing and not take out dividends, then the profit is not taxed. You declare your taxes online. It takes minutes to do it. Every month, I still have a one-man company through which I sometimes invoice. And it literally takes me minutes to take a look at my expense documents and declare my taxes every month through the tax board. It's all online. And Estonian tax authorities have a special email actually for non-residents. So, and they are quite friendly to help you with anything. So in case you have any questions about taxes in Estonia, then the tax board is always happy to help. And in an international tax competitiveness index, Estonia has scored #1 in the world for the last 7 years. So that's something to keep in mind of when choosing Estonia as well. And of course, when you have an Estonian company, you have access to Estonian and EU public funds, grants, all of the things that Estonian companies would have access to. Like I said, you are also in a very favorable situation with investors here locally, because a lot of European funds and investors, they only invest into European-based entities due to the fact that if you invest into another country, you have to understand its legislation. So to be able to raise capital from Europe, it's a must to have a European entity as well. Access to our Estonian startup ecosystem and startup visa. You can use our E-Residency company list, which is a separate page on our website that is showcasing companies that are owned by e-residents. You can use this as a way of marketing yourself, a way of finding partners and customers. And you can use our service providers that are listed on the marketplace. So it's all made very easy. So you don't have to go searching around the internet, Googling yourself, like who will do my accounting. It's all quite seamless to choose a service provider on our website. I think I will finish here. I've added here some quotes from e-residents, which obviously are all very positive about how easy it is to run business through Estonia, how easy it is to have founders in multiple countries and live anywhere yourself, because you never have to physically be here to run business. This guy, Ian, he has a co-founder in Switzerland, and himself, he lives in South Korea, for example. Compared to a lot of countries in the world, our bureaucracy level is really, really low. So these are some of the things that make Estonia quite a hassle-free place. And here are some contacts for your reference in case you have any other questions that are maybe more specific after today's webinar. But I am happy to answer any questions that you have at the moment. So let's look at the chat to see if there's any questions. And I will leave this slide on for just a little bit to see maybe somebody wants to read the contacts. All right, so nobody has asked questions yet, but I will stop my screen share, and we can maybe take it in a more unstructured, informal way. So everybody's welcome to unmute and just shoot questions at me if you would like.
Pessoal, se quiserem escrever em português também, eu posso estar auxiliando nisso.
Hi there. I will try to make a question. First, congratulations for your presentation. I'm Matheus from Ravi. I found it very interesting. Is the audio okay?
Your sound is, I don't know if others can hear you well, but I'm hearing you really like kind of like, I don't know, like not so well. So I really have to try to understand your question.
Okay, I will try to test, okay?
Let's try.
Test, okay.
Maybe you can type your question. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Good question. I can throw some links. So Uma Workspace is one that offers only tables, and then Lift 99 is one that is very much building like a community for startups. So not everyone is even accepted there. So they try to choose companies or people who are contributing somehow to the ecosystem. Then Workland is another one, and that has several locations in Tallinn. The last time I checked, and my memory might be already like a little bit old now, but last time I checked, I think you are able to rent the desk for about 150 to 200 euros a month. I think they do, all of them have some dedicated desk in don't find the prices so quickly on their website, but I think most of them have them on the website. So I think it should be around like 150 to 200 euros per month for a table. So something like in this range. Any other questions? Thank you for, we have startup work of mining waste, and Russia has a lot of mining places. How to say, Russia is our neighbor. It is quite easy here to get a business visa to go and do something in Russia. A lot of Estonian companies have interests also in Russia. A lot of investors, also some more like in the traditional sectors like industries. Russians also invest into Estonia. So the relations in terms of business are quite good because we are neighbors. I'm not sure how this could help you in the sense of running your business. I assume that Estonia is known and trusted in Russia, also probably it's because it's closer rather than Brazil, because it seems so far maybe. So I can only assume that for the business relations, it might make sense to be present closer to them. Costs and process for license for health tech companies. I have never had a health tech company myself, but I will throw here a link for how you have to log in to find out. So I'm copying it. So this is eesti.ee is the government portal where most of these services can be accessed, and there are links to other pages, and you can find all this information. We also have on our website, which I think I maybe didn't even mention, but on our E-Residency website, we have something that is called knowledge base. So knowledge base is basically like this resource base for all the topics that e-resident business owners are often asking. So these are articles that are created by our team, by our content creators that are talking about certain topics in more detail. So maybe in 1 hour today, I couldn't cover everything so thoroughly, but in this knowledge base, there are different subsections about the digital ID, founding your company, choosing banking services, taxes, Estonia itself. There's a lot of videos that you can watch. So all kinds of like frequently asked questions sections. And this is a very good place to start with doing more of your research. And we also run, every month we run 2 regular webinars that talk about also the applying for e-residency process and registering a company in Estonia. So if something comes up and you think, oh, like I couldn't ask this question, then we run these regular webinars that are up under our events calendar, and you can join one of them. In the last one, we had more than 700 something people registered and over 300 participants that joined from around the world. So every month we do exactly the same webinars, and each month you have a chance to hear more about the program and ask all the questions. Anything or anyone else? At the end of next month, we are going to have here in Tallinn a Brazilian Day organized by some local Brazilian expats who are big fans of their country, and they are going to introduce Brazilian food and culture, and hopefully also caipirinhas to the Estonian public here in Tallinn. So something to look forward to.
There is another question in the chat here from Rodrigo.
The biggest advantage for somebody that is already Europe-based. So depending on a country, but I just recently saw a thread on Twitter talking about exactly the same topic, that investing into a German GmbH, for example, is actually not so easy, or like the processes require reading, like tens of pages loudly in notary, and it takes a whole day to get a bunch of investors around the table. ease of doing different things, very little bureaucracy, low costs in comparison to, for example, Western Europe, because Western Europe and Estonia, like there is not such a big difference in trustworthiness. Like it doesn't make you like so much more trusted if you have a company registered in like a Western European country. But the amount of money and time that a startup founder can save is still substantial, because the local pay levels and the local costs here are lower compared to Western Europe. So that means accounting is cheaper, and state fees are cheaper, and everything is a little bit sort of less bureaucratic than in those old states, because we had the liberty of rebuilding our country 30 years ago, because we came from Soviet Union, and we looked at like everything we had and decided, okay, like what do we do, right? So we made everything so transparent and digital. I see you are in Portugal. Okay, so I just recently, for example, are you yourself in Portugal, or you have a Portuguese company already registered? Because if you don't have a company yet, I can exactly tell you. I was just doing research about the company creation process in Portugal, and I can send you a table that puts side by side the pros and cons, the costs, the time that it takes, the fact that not all Portuguese services are online. It takes more money to establish one. You need a lawyer to get a personal tax number, all kinds of aspects. and I think Estonia would actually, I met with two lawyers who are Brazilian born, living in Portugal, and they traveled to Estonia just last week to register a company themselves in Estonia. So they know exactly what the process looks like. They advised me on the process, and they registered their company in Estonia. Just send me your email if you would like to see the comparison. I will be happy to share. I will put my own work email here in the chat as well, so I could be your, I could be your first-hand contact in our team. If you want to ask, if you want to ask something, then you can email me. You can send me your email, so I could send you the Portuguese comparison table as well. And I know Portugal would be probably the first choice for a lot of Brazilians, because it's the same culture, it's the same language. But probably you'd say it's not the same, it's different, but it's the easy entry point to Europe. So that's why I have to know very well how the company creation process looks like in Portugal, and I do. Anyone else? If not, then like I said, I am happy to answer any more questions that you remember later, and we'll be happy to help you in any way we can, or at least point you towards the right resources that we have gathered over time, because the program is 6 years old, and we have seen within this period a lot of different questions and topics that are interesting for e-residents and entrepreneurs from elsewhere. So I can definitely send you the right way if you contact me. Shall we finish, Pedro?
Yes, Ülane, thank you so much for your presence today. Thank you so much for answering all the questions and for the presentation that, in my opinion, was awesome. I think that's it. We can finish now.
All right, cool. So then I'm heading to Berlin tonight. So you guys take care, and hopefully I will talk to some of you again soon.
For sure. Bye-bye. Enjoy Berlin.
Bye.
Bye. Feito, então, pessoal, agradecer aqui então a figura do Pedro, da Yulo também. A gente volta a se encontrar quinta-feira, 10h30 também, então acho que é isso. Então fiquem bem, hoje está bem frio aqui no sul. Até então quinta-feira a gente continua a programação junto com o pessoal da Estônia, tá? Valeu, pessoal.
Valeu, pessoal, um abraço aí e boa continuação das agendas aí também na quinta-feira.